Hello.
Hey, Kate.
How are you?
Well, how are you?
How you doing? Good. I actually chatted with Zoe this morning, and what I was telling her is that I'm just trying to like get through this year. We're almost there.
Almost.
Like I know it's like December, just like boom. Holy cow.
Whatever numerological, astrological, whatever bad like mojo was in this year, I'm just so grateful. And I
know
that 2021.
I know.
You know, all the trucks have passed.
I know. I know. Except I'm like so hesitant to say that.
I know.
So I'm like, I don't want to jinx anything. I don't just like let's just cruise into 2021 and oh gosh. Yes. Katie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
I'm sorry, Kate, I haven't logged into the new site yet, but I will. I promise this weekend.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's really just the beginning. It functions much better when, you know, you start getting people. So the idea is that we'll start layering on our cohorts, and then there's kind of a general community that is going to be grown. So you know, it's at the moment it's your course, your cohort, so to speak. But it has like an area where you as classmates, theoretically, if we had started it prior, we would have actually had our courses in there. You'll be able to kind of see what that looks like. But you guys now have your own, you know, sort of U12 in there, a little section for you all. And then eventually it'll roll into a larger network. So
cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I downloaded the app. That's all we have, right? Or is there something else also?
No, it can also be on the web browser. And so if you go to actually I'll put the URL right in the and it's the same login. So just a second. And this won't take you there unless you've registered. So Katie, like this won't work for you. But Amber, if you've registered, I just put in the chat the link, and that's just the browser version.
So registration on the app counts, right?
Yep. So this would be the same login for that. Yep. If you register on mobile, you're fine to log in everywhere. But like Katie's gonna have to somewhere go through registration with the invite that I sent.
Got it.
Chad,
hi everybody, thanks for coming here. I know. She's so funny. She texted me. She's like, I'm gonna have to step out from 5 to 5:15. It's like the movers are almost done. I'm just gonna have to sign off. So, what a day. Hi Betty, welcome back. How was your birthday?
You. It was good. It was good. I drove also down to Florida on Thursday, so sorry about that. I've been a bit in transition, but I'm landed now.
Oh, good. Oh gosh. Okay. You can get moving. I've got to send a link to Anne. And how is everybody doing our last class? Oh my gosh.
It went fast.
It did.
Agree.
We don't have the recording yet, right, Kate, for the last class?
Not yet. We'll get that up. I just have to get it up on YouTube.
Okay.
Oh, here, the Jags must have gotten kicked off. She's on her way. And I am going to email. Oh, Catherine, you got on. And we got to get Anne.
Are we all wearing black? Like every single one of us?
I'm wearing pink, which I
Are we?
never wear.
Yeah.
Karen, oh my goodness.
I have to show you.
I've got zebras on, so
Oh, yeah.
black and white.
Black series,
Okay,
yes.
we'll take
This
that,
is
Darren.
A
Nice.
cashmere onesie.
Oh my God, I have one too. I should have worn
Isn't
that.
it amazing?
It's the best outfit ever.
Ever.
Like,
It's like
Ever.
wearing a slanket.
I think I'm gonna like spend the entire like holiday season like in that.
You
For
have to
sure.
send a link or start a business that sells those. Do
Yes.
that.
Yes. I honestly, I would have bought them, and like now that I know, I'd buy it in every color.
Yeah, no, it's the best. It's so comfy and warm now that it's like a colder season. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Jags looks frozen.
We need to send her a cashmere onesie.
Yeah.
That
The
is
answer
so
to
sick.
everything. It is like the most 2020 purchase I made.
It's like the only stuff that I buy is like leisure wear or whatever, but it's like, you know, you can only have so many pairs of yoga pants or whatever. So
No, I already bought all like so many, yeah, yoga pants.
Recommend the brand you're wearing, Angel.
This, yes, I would. I think this is Nadam. Or it might be yeah.
That's great stuff. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got mine from COS.
Mm.
They do? Really? They do the onesies?
Yeah, I just got it and it's literally the best thing. I'm like mind blown.
Oh my
I bought a load of stuff from Naked Cashmere. They're really great too.
They are good.
Mhm.
I just got a bunch of fun Lululemon like pants and everything. Yeah, and then they have some like little sales here and there.
You're like, no vaccine, no vaccine. I just bought these new yoga pants.
Are we still waiting for?
I don't know. Do we have Jag?
Yes. I thought we. Oh, she left.
I think she froze
Yeah,
and
she
then
got-
left.
She may just be. Oh, well. And I'm trying to get Anne on. She is, my entire computer also froze. So one of the things I was thinking is, and Christy was awesome because Christy at the beginning of this session suggested this, and I think it just got a little too busy for everybody, but she suggested like a happy hour, just like a networking session. And so I didn't know if maybe in the new year, because I would hate to add on top of everybody's end of the year schedule, we could do something like that and just get together and kind of chat a little bit and say hi and do a little bit of an introduction. So if everybody is down with that, I'll send around a doodle and we can find a good spot.
Sounds great.
And I think we have Anne now.
Sounds good.
Anne Jags.
Yes, I'm sorry. We have very spotty Comcast burst of cable again. So I am not even, I'm on my phone and I'm trying to send Kate my presentation, which is only 5 slides today, but it's not working. So I think we're just going to have to talk through it and improvise. I'm sorry about this. It's not even letting me send the presentation to Kate. And on top of that, everything is being dismantled in my home. So it could be part of that too. So I apologize.
Hey,
Um,
Kate, I have
Jags, is it on Canva?
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry. If you want to just share with my email, I could probably pop it up on my side.
That's
Because
the
I
thing,
have
I can't
Canva. I
even,
can.
yeah, but I can't even,
Oh,
I can't even get that far. So I'm using my cell
Okay.
phone. All right. So,
okay. Amber,
how
did
is
you,
it-
one sec, Jags. Amber, did you have something?
Yes, Constance just messaged me saying she's waiting for you to accept her into the meeting. So I don't know.
Oh, you know what? She probably went off tell her to check in the email that I sent earlier today. I wonder if she's maybe on the wrong link because I don't see her waiting. And I'll resend it to her too, but she check the email that I sent around to everybody this morning.
So how is everyone doing? Everyone's doing okay. I think I missed the part with Angel showing her onesie. Was it a onesie? Or
It's not just a onesie, it's a cashmere onesie.
Oh my God, yes. We would love a link.
Yes.
I would love a link.
I'll share it.
Oh yes. That must be like being wrapped by the softest thing out there.
Yes. It's like a little cocoon.
Oh my gosh, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, but it's totally like, it looks cute. You could wear it, like I wore it out. I did the school, like a grocery run in it. And you know, like at first, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, well, I'm only gonna wear it around the house. And then I'm like, no, I can get away with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like something I would do too. Well, I can't believe we've reached this far, and thank you for being part of the founding cohort. I think Kate and I are super excited to see where this goes. So today's session is going to be on branding, and I wish I could share my slides, and I'm going to continue to try that while we are talking, but I'm on my cell phone and I'm actually sitting in one room in the house. So if you hear loud noises, please excuse me. So, sorry, go ahead. Would anybody say something? Did somebody say something? Okay.
Nope, you're good.
All right. So one of the, we kind of sprinkled this conversation throughout, I think almost all the sessions, right? Starting from understanding the ecosystem with our first session, then attracting deal flow, and then the 3 sessions dedicated to due diligence, financial math, venture math. We went over the waterfall analysis. We went over different frameworks or different types of questions we should be asking when we are doing the due diligence, depending on what exactly is the company, what industry the company is in. And the last session we had portfolio strategy and management. But throughout, I feel the 7 sessions, we kind of have talked about how do we want to show up as an investor, right? And that's what I think branding that we're going to cover today. How do you want to show up as an investor? Obviously, branding in a broader sense is all about, colors and the font and the look and feel of your website or of your social page, et cetera, et cetera. But we are now talking about today's session. Branding is how do we want to show up as an investor? So in today's session, I thought we'll just go over, 7 areas. The first one is mission vision, right? What is, and I think we all have a mission and vision that we have kind of thought about different part of our lives, as a career woman or as a entrepreneur or as an investor. But I feel that this is an opportunity for us to even create something a little bit higher up than that kind of combines all our learning, all our experiences, etc. So Kate and I were talking last week after this session, and I told Kate that your mission should be something that that you continue to work on, something that doesn't you don't achieve it, but you continue to work on. So for example, my mission is to educate 100,000 angels and women in the women and underrepresented minorities. Chances are in my lifetime I may never be able to achieve that, but that keeps me going. That's something that is it gives me a purpose. It gives me something that I would love to see more and more women and people from underrepresented communities to be able to explore this. Not to say that everybody should make angel investments if you explore it, but to just know that this exists out there. There are communities out there, and they can be part of something like this. So my mission is to educate 100,000 angels. Chances, like I said, probably won't achieve it, but that's what I want to strive. So I'm talking today from that perspective, is that how do we want to show up? What do we want our life's work to be, and where do we want to head where do we want to head towards? I am a much more founder friendly investor. So the kind of branding I do is I'm very low key, even my nature is not to just tell everybody that this is what I do. My nature is not to put a lot of things on social media saying, or write blogs or write about what I know. I am trying to, become more aware of that I need to do that if I want to achieve my mission. So historically speaking, I have not been able to, I have not put myself out there for whatever reason, my personality, time, whatever. But once I decided this is what I want my mission to be, I feel that I need to even get out of my own comfort zone and say, this is, in order for me to achieve this, I need to be more out there. I need to be more, I need to talk about things that I have done, that I have failed in, whether it's angel investment or, other ways, and be more founder friendly. Like I always prefer to work closely with founders than, give a speech or something, or be part of a panel as an angel, and, with other angel investor. My natural tendency is to do that. So the reason I'm sharing all this with you is also because I want you to know where I have come from and my journey, and where my natural tendency is, and where are the things that I see areas of growth for me. And once you have a list of mission, vision, and things that you want to improve, your portfolio strategy is another one, right? We talked about that last week. What kind of portfolio do you want to build? And that includes how much money, over what period of time, in what industry, in what stage, you want to get involved, you want to invest, and what do you want to do post investment to support the founders. So this is all going to play into kind of creating a branding that you would like, that you want to show up in the world with. And as part of that, also thesis is important. We talked about building a thesis. Yeah, I know some of you already have ideas about what that looks like for you, right? I really love December for many reasons. Not only because it's holiday season, I feel like there's so much joy in the air, and there's lights. I love lights, right? And I just feel really good in December. But I love December even more because it gives me an opportunity to reflect on what I did this year, but what I want to do next year. So this is actually a really good time for all of us to say, okay, what do I want my thesis to be? What do I want to invest in next year, and build and go backward from that and create things that you need to do in order to show up as the investor that you want to show up as. Community, network, continuous learning, and continuous investing. Those are the two. That's like I look at that as a yin yang of being an angel investor. You have to be continuously learning, and then apply that learning, and how do you invest with that learning, and continuously investing. Because if we just if our goal is to just do 4 investment, then I don't think you will be successful as an angel investor. So the average number of deals a successful angel investor does is in north of 70, 80, over a period of time, 8 to 10 years, right? And from that, you're able to maybe get 2 or 3% into the unicorn, unicorn math, and you are able to really do 50x your portfolio by 1 or 2 companies, right? That's what we want to strive towards. So the yin and yang of being an angel investor is continuous learning and continuous investing. Learning to me is more, it could be more passive, but I'm inviting all of you, and hopefully by joining the community, it becomes active learning, right? You have something to share, you have something to ask, you put it out there, and it doesn't matter how, advanced or beginner. I mean, we're going to have all sorts of people, as we have in this cohort, looking at that and advising each other. So continuous learning, make it an active continuous learning, not passive. And continuous investing is also, I would like us to be more active in the way we think of investing, right? It's not just writing a check and saying that, okay, let's see. Now I know my investment is illiquid for 5 to 7 years. I can sit back, figure out how to be an active investor while continuously investing. So those are some of the key points that I'm inviting you guys to think about and come up with your mission and vision, your thesis, your portfolio strategy. I'm sorry, guys, just 1 second. The movers. Excuse me, sorry. Hey, I have. No, I can't.
Okay, just to let you know, in your middle room,
Okay.
move the bed.
Okay.
There's a lot of stress.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, guys. So starting with your mission and vision, and then going 1 level deeper, developing your thesis, 1 level deeper portfolio strategy, 1 level deeper, combining all that into understanding what kind of investor do you want to show up as. Then looking at continuous learning, continuous active learning, and continuous active investing, and figure out what are some of the things that you can contribute in both areas. We all have something to teach and we all have something to learn. So how do we collaborate and share as much information as you want to get the advice that you need from this supportive community? And I suggest be part of at least 1 community and figure out, who is your tribe. And if you can't find your tribe, hopefully you found it with us. But if not, be out there and try to search for that. So the reason I'm telling you all this, because I didn't do a lot of that stuff. And now that I have made a lot of investments. I wish that I started my journey to be putting all this information out 5 years ago instead of just 2 years ago.
Jags? If she doesn't come back, I can kind of kick in a little bit here.
It was a very
Okay,
pivotal
I'll kick in.
moment in the discussion.
I
too.
know. And when she gets back, we'll have her continue her story. I'll actually kick over a little bit to my story too, because there are some pieces on, at the end of the day, this is all about kind of personal branding, right? And let me just see if she gets back with no hiccups here. If she does, we'll let her go, and I'll come in later. Jags, do we have you?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
And now
that's all right. No worries.
Now I can actually share my screen. Can you give me rights, Kate?
Oh, yep. Okay, good.
Okay.
Is that working, Jag? You're frozen again.
Can you see my screen?
Almost. It's
Starting.
coming,
Yeah.
I think.
Hold on 1 second.
It's thinking
So,
about it.
while I try to figure out. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is the so this is what to really figure out and then work backwards. And then the flow that I described, mission, vision, then come up with your thesis, then portfolio strategy, then understanding the continuous learning and continuous investing actively, being part of a community, and continue to network and find your tribe, because that's what it's all about. We all are in this together, and that's one way to make a really big impact, not only for women founders but also women investors. I think we want as much early stage capital going towards women founders, coming especially from women investor, and have lots and lots of success stories. And I know we have a guest speaker, Sapna, and I had an opportunity to talk to her very briefly, but Kate knows her very well. And I would love for you guys to ask her questions on how she started, where she is, and learn, from her perspective as well. So the story of Jags, right? So that's how I started, is to understand what is my story, and what is my why, right? Does my why lead me to the path of angel investing? And yes, it did, and it still does. My why is to be surrounded with brilliant women who I can learn from, who I can invest with, and who I can be, who I can collaborate with. That is my why, because that's what gives me energy. That's what makes me feel like I have a purpose that I'm working towards. At this point, it would be great to, Kate, what's your story? I mean, I just want people to come up with their elevator pitch on what their story is. Why are we doing this? Sorry, Kate, I'm putting you on spot. Hello?
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry. Yeah, it was funny. You were actually cutting out and I was about to tell my story. And then you came back, so I let you go. A lot of things. So the first thing is I a little bit fell into the investing coming from the founder side. And so one of the big takeaways that I have is, number one, way back in my previous days, I was a marketer, and it was during that time when people were talking a lot about personal branding. And so one of the ways I had sort of just started doing that was doing a lot of writing, and then also speaking. And so I sort of afforded myself to get into these channels without necessarily, it was more just sort of talking about on the marketing side, but also on increasingly so on the sort of like gender and representation in the founder space. Not very intentional about it though. And then so all of that converged. 4 years ago, I took over Women 2.0, and then I started to invest. And so this all sort of like came together for me, but two things very specifically on personal branding as an investor or somebody in the community is that there are two pieces of it for me. Ideally, everybody here can now turn and be intentional about what they have. But there are two areas to look at. The first is you probably have something behind you that you were not intentional about. You weren't necessarily thinking about it from a personal branding standpoint or an investor branding standpoint. You have real strengths in an area. Maybe you just have a phenomenal network. And so pieces that you already have that you may need to kind of just repackage and rethink about are a really excellent part of your own brand. And then a little bit, as Jags was talking about, is then aligning then with your mission and your thesis, what things can you add to that? So as an example, if you would like to be coming forward and being accessible for your founders and being helpful for your founders, how can you start actually getting in some advisory relationships or showing up in a couple of more formal ways in advisory roles? And really literally starting to put the tags on your brand that step you through that. And then adding to that, really boosting up what you already have. So taking a look back, if there's something you're just really stellar at that you can actually start writing, I'll offer to everybody here, we have a media property at Women 2.0. If anybody would like to write for us, amazing. We have an ally accelerator, and I've already talked to Zoe about this. It's an accelerator program for women of color coming up in February. We have multiple office hours, lead mentor roles, like kind of anything in there that you can just start saying a little bit more formally, I engaged here with the people that I want to be involved with and aligned with. So those are kind of, I mean, my gosh, we could talk about branding all day long, but those are a couple of the things that I've been thinking about. And one of the things that I thought could be interesting on that note for everybody to do, or just somebody if they feel comfortable with, is if in your mind right now you have a couple of things that you've identified, okay, I may not have intentionally packaged this together, but actually I have a really strong thing right here. And then in addition, where you might want to go, I'd love this to be a little bit of an exercise for anybody who wants to step forward and talk about that or ask questions about that. Like, I think this might be a strength. Is it? I'm not really sure. So there are some obvious ones. There are industry focus. You know, there's things like, listen, I just plain have a killer network and I can basically do anything with it, you know? Or I have $10 million to invest. So I'm gonna be a lot of people's very good best friends, you know? We all wish we were that person. But, and then there are the less obvious things. So anyways, I don't know if anybody wants to step up and chat about that or what they might have in their minds or shop a couple of ideas.
Can I just add something to what you said, Kate?
Yeah.
You know, I also really encourage all of you to be curious. Like, you know, yeah, some of the things that Kate said, that, oh, maybe you have a killer network, maybe you have, you have some, money to get started. Whatever it is, these are the, I would say, not cookie cutter, but these are the things that most angels fall into. But what I want to ask you to do is to even be more curious and say, what can I bring that is not traditionally considered a strength of angel investor? Because there are boundaries being broken right now all over the world. So I'm really would love to understand and have you be curious about you, saying, what are some of the things that nobody's doing, but I love doing that, and I think this can be a strength. So flip that around, know what others, the strengths are, but also what are some of the things that are not being done that can be useful. They're not being done traditionally, but now we are breaking boundaries. We are at a cusp of things, we as women. So let's think about that as well.
And I actually have a great example for everybody here. I don't know if anybody knows Lolita Taub. She did exactly that, which is really neat. She started out a couple of years ago, interested in angel investing, writing out, pretty small checks, 5,000, 3,000, that type of thing. And then what and it was funny because I had a couple of conversations with her as she was kind of working through this herself. And what she started to realize is that one of the things that she had this particular knack for is she was very strong on Twitter. And she was sensing that she had this particular knack of being able to not necessarily create resources for people, but really be a curator, specifically for founders, really be a curator and put it back out to her community. And her community was just literally kind of coming to her because she was this curation machine. And so she started to think about like, okay, community, something's driving community here, that sort of thing. She started to get her own personal brand up. And just earlier this fall, she actually became the general partner of a small fund. It's off of Maine, one of the major funds. It's called the Community Fund. So she partnered with somebody else. They've got one LP, which is the main fund, but she now literally runs a fund to invest in vibrant communities. And she just she rode that specific, very untraditional path, and it worked out spectacularly.
Yeah, no.
Who is that, Kate?
Lolita Taub. I'll put her name in the chat. Yep. Kirsty just put the community, her fund link in as well.
So for this reason, me and 5 of my best angel friends, we got together in 2016 and we wrote a book. And the book is not about, you could find this book on Amazon, but the book is not about how to do angel investment. The book is about why women should consider being angel investor, why women should consider being an entrepreneur. And all of us came from different path. Corporate, just full-time mom who took a long break and now she's back into tech. Single moms. So anyways, what I'm trying to say is that if you have an idea that you want to tell the world, it has to do with angel investment. It doesn't have to be about how to do angel investment. It is absolutely not okay, but this world needs for you to say, why did you decide to become an angel investor, and how are you going to contribute to this evolving, amazing community of women investors and entrepreneurs. I invite you guys to, write a blog for Women 2.0 or any other women, communities. Talk about your experience. Why is extremely important, because what why does is somebody who didn't think they could do it before, they listen to your why and they say, I can relate to what she's saying, or I can relate to her experience, and I am going to do this. So for example, I grew up in a very, very low middle class family. Literally we had one room, about 400 square feet, 9 of us. I'm youngest of 7 siblings. I didn't know English until I came to America when I was 15. My parents passed away when I was 13, so I was kind of forced to come here to live with my brother, who's the only son and the oldest of 7. I decided to do engineering because that was one thing that didn't require me to know English that well. I was not in love with engineering or tech. That was the beginning of my story. So for me to be sitting here in the middle of Silicon Valley in a beautiful multi-million-dollar home and to look back at my experience as a child and as a young woman, I never even thought I could own a home. So that's why it's important to shed some light on our why. And it doesn't have to be, she didn't have, she didn't grow up, but look now. It could be anything, because there are people always look at you and say, you know what, I can relate to her. And that's why we all come from different parts of the world, and we all have stories that we can share, and we can find some common ground. So I really, um, want to say, as part of this branding session, is dig deep, find out your why, and tell the story. And it doesn't have to be how you do angel investor. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm so good at financial modeling. It doesn't have to be, I get the best deal flow. It has to be, oh, I am interested in being part of this community, and I want to help move the needle. It could be as simple as that.
I can give you one other example as well. Our great friends over at Pipeline Angels, I don't know if anyone knows that great group. Natalia Oberti-Noguera started that, and she had one particular angel in their network, and basically their whole thesis was equipping the new generation of angels, meaning in their particular case, women, genderqueer, that type of thing. And so they do it in these boot camps, and then they developed an angel group, and they've had a couple of cool stories in there. But one in particular, her name's Leisha Bell. She's fantastic. Inside Pipeline Angels, Leisha became very well known as the due diligence. She structured their due diligence process, really homed in on that particular piece, and then did it basically on behalf of Pipeline Angels. And then she is now at PayPal in their venture arm. She is not quite an investor, although hopefully 2021 will be good for her. And but she is on the venture team. And again, she just kind of like really focused on that. She helps them a lot with doing deals, and also a community advocate as well. But that was her thing as well. She became part of one of these groups. She stepped up and she became really good at something that was very important.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing, Kate. So, I get super excited. I don't know how to do branding that well, as far as, doing the process, the actual process of branding. But I'm just super excited to the story part of that branding, because I think without a story, we can go only so much. Without our why, we can only go so much further. But with our why, it can take us so much deep into making a difference, not only for us, but also for others. I'd love to hear from others if they want to share any branding tips or story tips, and then we'll go over this 4. And I think this is then we're going to have some fun with Sapna.
I've been looking forward to this session because it's something I've been thinking about for a while. And I started off when quarantine first hit. I thought, how can I be really productive with all this extra time where I'm not traveling and the rest of it? So what could I do that I feel like I don't normally have the time to do? And so I decided I was going to write a book. I've written like 450 pages, 460 pages, but
wow, what? Yeah, tell us.
So I think I told you about it, Kate, during a call way back, but
oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, I got really inspired by, the changes in, the definition of a accredited investor and the regulations around angel investing. And I got excited about it because I was looking at it as an economic opportunity for people who had been blocked out from investing and potentially from wealth creation. So I was thinking of it as like ally investing, and how I made a distinction in my mind was, not necessarily impact investing, but it's impact investing by being very proactive about which kinds of founders you're investing in. And so even if they want to start a dry cleaning service, you know, which is not great for the environment, but well, depending on how you do it, but you know, that by investing in BIPOC, LGBTQ, and female founders, you know, who have typically had challenges in getting access to capital, some more than others. You know, that was a form of advocacy and activism that could help create more parity and equity and more opportunity. So I kind of started on that journey, and I've gone pretty far down that journey. And I've put it on pause for a few different reasons. One, I was really passionate about it, and I am passionate about the topic. And I was seeing as this whole new class of potential investors coming in who would need a lot of, you know, education and support and community to be successful. And so I still feel strongly about that. I put it on pause for a few reasons, partly because I think 99.9% of business related books are boring as fuck, pardon my language. But so I thought, like, the last thing I want to do is put another boring business book out into the market. And I also started to, you know, you get like imposter syndrome occasionally when you're, you know, putting yourself out there. And I thought, you know, most of my investments have been in white dudes. And, you know, partly that's because of when I started investing, partly that's because the deals that I was finding, partly it was because, you know, at least in, you know, in tech and a lot of the areas where I've invested, there haven't been a lot of women founders, and there haven't been a lot of, you know, Black founders, for example. But I also thought, like, okay, well, if I'm going to be advocating for this, then I need to walk the walk, right? And so I've been more thoughtful about my investments from that lens. But I had also been thinking about the topic here today, which is like, how much do I want to brand myself and put myself out there as an angel investor? You know, because I have some close friends who I think they probably know that I do angel investing, but that's the extent of it, right? Like, I don't talk about it that much with them, and I don't really put it out there, but I decided to start putting myself out there a bit more to be in service of those who are curious and have the capacity, resources to start investing. So when I started looking at it from the lens of, okay, this isn't me and my ego and my brand platform, this is me helping other people, it gave me more freedom and confidence to be able to start using my platform. You know, like, I don't know, I've got somewhere just under 100,000 followers and subscribers to my newsletter. And I thought, if there's a way to use that platform or to even grow that platform, then potentially I could make an impact. You know, maybe more people get into investing, or maybe they just make better investments, or maybe I make better investments. Maybe, you know, founders feel more supported, because I think, like Jag, I get more excited about, you know, helping founders, and, you know, angel investing is the vehicle. But I thought the only way to diversify the founders is to diversify the investors. And that's not the only way, but that's a key way, because you open up more networks, right, of talent.
Absolutely.
So anyway, so I don't really know what my contribution here is, other than to say I'm in exploration mode about all of this. And I welcome thoughts and feedback and recommendations and opinions, because basically, I've been in test mode. Like, I'm using myself as like a prototype of like, what works, what's effective, you know. And I look at, you know, Kate, a lot of the things that, you know, that you've done. It was funny, actually, because I decided for Christmas every Wednesday, I was thinking healthy, wealthy, wise. So every Wednesday I do a post about angel investing. And in the month of December, I'm doing it all in like red or green. And all of these posts, I was like, oh my God, it looks just like Kate's branding. I was like, and I meant to do Christmas like red and green. And I was like, oh, that red and black looks like Kate's, which is good because that means like your branding is really working. There's that association, you know? But yeah, so I'm really open, you know, I just think if I feel like I'm in service of, like I can help founders more, I can help other people who want to get into angel investing or who are, but have only made their first couple and maybe aren't as far down the road as I've come, then I feel more empowered to use my brand as use my platform in a branded expression of angel investing.
But I think, Angel, what you just narrated for us, right? And thank you for sharing that. What you narrated for us is exactly what we were saying, that you may have walked into this class wanting to know how to do angel investment or how to get some advanced technique and process or tools, or come up, join, connect with other members. But when you are sitting back and looking at a deal or just thinking about it, I think your mission vision kind of plays in your mind that drives the decision making subconsciously, right? We all know that the way we make decisions are 70-80% of our decisions, the way we make, are based on our subconscious. So what I would like to do before you go out, what I'm suggesting, right? And that includes what your bigger why is. Let your subconscious help you with that. And then as you are creating your thesis, your portfolio strategy, let that gut instinct, that why, play a bigger role than just tools or community or types of investment, etc. So I think you narrated that very well for what I was trying to say. So thank you.
Yeah. One other useful tool that Angel's reminding me of too, because this is something I've had to do, is I had this kind of like mashup of stuff that I was doing, and it makes you very like, that looks great, let's tackle that, because it's all like helping women, right? So you get in this mashup. And I really sat down, and one useful exercise, if you're feeling like you've got this stuff in here, is literally just try to structure it, bucket it, understand how they relate to each other. And for an example, for me, an Angel, I heard this in what you were talking about, is for Women 2.0, and also our fund structure very specifically is set up because one of my huge pieces of my mission, where I've gotten to, is that we want to help both the founder side of it, but also change the ecosystem as well. So we can do everything we want, write out checks to the founders, but if we're not also changing the structure, and for Women 2.0, well, one sec on that, that's my entire point. If you're not also changing the structure, we're not making the biggest impact we have. So we have literally lined up our Women 2.0 programming on individuals, structure, and ecosystem. And our programming goes like that. And of course, they play together, right? And then similarly with our fund, we've got our checks, and then we have multiple pieces of our fund structure where we're hopefully making an impact on the investing side, on the LP side, like you kind of name it. So yeah, that is a piece of like where I've gotten to in all this mashup, and I just line that straight up. And my whole mission is focused on essentially creating a better future via our up and coming, companies and innovation set. They're built by the people we want to be building them. They're built for the people, that whole stuff, right? So that's kind of where I've gotten it. And I just had to like bucket, structure this, boom, 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 boom. And it took a little bit, but that's been incredibly helpful for me.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for sharing. I see branding as just 4 areas. Become an active participant, whatever industry you're, whatever community, whatever stage, uh, the type of founder you want to support, become an active participant. Keep your online profiles up to date. That is, that's how people find each other nowadays, right? Is through LinkedIn, through, whatever online platform that you are creating. Keep it up to date. Be the person others want to talk to, right? So not be closed. And many times I have found myself being closed, not because I don't know the stuff or I don't, I can't contribute, because I'm shy. So I come close to people, not because I don't want to share. It makes me uncomfortable. So I look like I'm more reserved. And this has taken a lot of work for me to not to be uncomfortable, so the other people can feel comfortable to talk to me. um, and then the 3 C's we talked about, right? How can you help the founders? The capital, connections, and customers. We talked about that in last session. And my last slide, this is my quote. Searching for a unicorn is a method, math, and madness. You must be able to imagine a world that doesn't exist now, but will be positive, possible, and attainable in the future. So this is what I would like to end this branding session with, and I think we almost have our guest speaker. But if you guys have any questions, we can, stop here and
I'll ask. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay. I'll ask any recommendations on how you would include this in your online profile. So in addition to whatever I do, strategic advisor, board member, angel investor, and do I put it on LinkedIn and put a date, and do I put detail about the companies I invest in, or my thesis, or my, what do you, is there a best practice?
Did you check out the LinkedIn profile for our speaker?
Nope.
She's the first person that I've seen be that clear about each one of those, which I thought, I never thought about doing it that way. And I thought it was really good.
Okay, I'll check that out. But Jags, your perspective on it?
So, my perspective is that I was doing a lot of, I was putting my thesis, I was putting exactly, my check sizes, I was putting the industry. So I was actually giving probably a bit too much information. I got inundated with lots and lots and lots of deal flow. So now I have numbed my LinkedIn because I was also not in a position by nature, as you guys know already, I'm a little bit reserved. So I had to do some work in order for me to put myself out there. So I have numbed my LinkedIn, but I think the best way to do this is to, just say your thesis and say, I am in this, I'm based out of New York City. This is what this is what my thesis is, and this is what my mission is. And I think that's what I'm going to do in 2021. And I'm also going to be very clear that, please don't send me deal flow through LinkedIn. But if, tell me about yourself. Don't send me a pitch deck, but tell me about yourself. That's the angle I'm thinking about trying it out, because I am at a place where I really want to get to know people more than their pitch deck. Because to me, the founders are the critical path to success.
I have a great resource of somebody that helped me do my board resume, my operational resume, my LinkedIn, and my bio over the past year, who actually connected me with Christy Houlihan. a week before this
before
class
that.
randomly. Yeah.
So weird.
So anyway, but she is phenomenal. I will put her website in the
Oh,
chat. I would
great.
love, she did a presentation for this group of women that I took a Yale class with last year, and everybody loved her, and a bunch of people are working with her too. And I just, she's all about supporting women. So I would encourage you guys, if you're have that need, she's perfect. And she
Oh,
has a
I
lot
love
of
her
really
message.
strong opinions on what you put in LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
it's been great.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
thank you. That, I want to share something. So Sapna, our guest speaker, right? I love her voicemail. You know what it says? This is Sapna. Leave me a message. Well, I'm like, oh, this is Jagrati. Please leave me a message. I'll get back to you. And, blah, blah, blah. I'm finding that kind of direct and honesty is appealing to me now. That this is Sapna. Leave me a message. It's like, and so I love that. So I would love to, anyways, I thought I'll share that with you because that's also branding, right? How you show up, even when you are not connected face to face. And that kind of made me feel that, I need to just not go around and just say what my need is. So I wanted to just share that.
Great. And just before we bring Sapna up, I did want to do a small flag, and this isn't necessarily a negative, but Betty, it was sort of actually embedded in both you and Angel's comments. The one thing to just keep in mind, like Jags alluded to, is that when you do make an angel investor title public on LinkedIn, you should make sure that you have a good way to deal with an influx of contacts, because you will get it. That's literally a search term that many people will use. And so and it's not a suggestion not to do that, but just make sure that just be prepared that you may get a lot of influx on it.
Yeah,
which is not a bad
right.
thing.
So I don't have it anywhere in my LinkedIn profile because I have been worried about that.
Yeah.
But I have been doing these social posts. So I didn't want it searchable on LinkedIn. So I didn't put anything in my LinkedIn profile for exactly that reason.
I actually wanted to be very intentional about it because once I decided that I'm going to do this, I wanted to also make sure that I get it is part of branding, right? And I don't have a background in climate tech. I'm new to angel investing, so I was like, how am I going to get started? So for me, it was really one way to kind of make a statement like, hey, I'm doing this. But what helps me is having I have a very clear thesis. I invest in climate tech. So that's actually made it very easy for me. I'm very transparent about it. So then, whenever I get all this, hey, I'm CEO of a yacht company. I'm like, have you read my profile? That may not fit, my thesis. So then it's actually very easy to be like, thanks, but I invest in climate tech, so I don't think it's a good fit. Good luck, and it's very quick and easy. But I think this was the session that I was most looking forward to, just very quickly, because this is actually something that I've also, like Angel said, spent a lot of time on this past year. I'm actually working with a coach, and this has been one of the main topics because I am, like Jack said, I'm actually very shy when it comes to being out there. I'm much more comfortable in smaller groups, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to join the angel sessions with this group. And I'm terrified of going on Twitter or anywhere publicly, but I love working with founders. And I think the one thing that is the most important thing about branding, in my opinion, is that it has to be authentic. So if it doesn't seem authentic and come naturally in some ways, I mean, you can obviously push yourself, but if you're trying to do something just for the sake of it, it'll show and it won't come across the right way. So instead of me writing some sort of like, I would love to be active on Medium or wherever, like where all the cool people are, but I'm just not that person. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just trying to focus on doing what I can to help these founders out. And now, you know, they're starting to like, you know, connect me with other people and asking for help. And that's like the biggest reward for me. I know it's slower that way. And, you know, there are the Brianne Kimmels and whoever like who've done the complete opposite. And I wish I could be that person, but I'm just like, I'm not that person. So I think it's just important for everyone to really explore what's the right way for them.
Yeah, and Kirsty, you just said something interesting there was you feel like you wish you could be like this, like Brianne Kimball. Because she really goes, I mean, she is, she is out there. And it's probably very beneficial to her. I think it is. But to your point, that fits her. And I think it's okay that everyone here, you know, everyone always thinks I'm an extrovert. I'm actually a pretty strong introvert. I really love people. I still, when I go, I have been writing stuff. The thing is, I really love to write. So for 15 years, I still go and I hit publish and I'm like, oh my God, like every single time. And or if I hop on Twitter, you know, actually I can be pretty vocal if you get my passions going. I can be. But it's still like that arena is still very like, I also have no interest in sitting on Twitter all day. I think I have work to do, you know, and I actually have work to do. And so if you're finding value out of doing a one-to-one, you know, sort of like a networked approach to your, whether it's deal flow or your network or that type of thing, and not necessarily a one-to-many, then that's something to explore. Okay, how can you be really intentional with your smaller network connections? If I'm going to spend 5 hours this month with founders, what does that look like? That's going to make it a win-win. And because that is a win-win. You spend time with any founder, it's a win for them. But how can you make that 5 hours of one-on-one time be also a win-win on your own brand? And whatever that is, I don't necessarily have an answer. Maybe it's that you walk out of every single relationship or every single meeting saying, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I can make 3 intros to this founder, whatever it may be, founder, coach, investor, and like an accountant. Maybe that's how I'm gonna spend those 5 hours, you know? So like trying to think about within your own context what that could look like. So we should do like a shop session on this. Maybe we can do that in the new year. I love this. In the meantime, I would love to have our guest speaker come up. Sapna, I think you are here.
I'm here. Hi, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely, happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so we have been, as you can tell, talking about personal branding as an angel investor. And we have some folks who have been thinking about this and have been trying to work through it. So we'd love to hear a little about yourself. And I do want to first, I'm going to allow Sapna to introduce herself. I always think that's a better way for people to be presented, is in their own words. But Sapna was also suggested to me by someone who I've known for several years, Alyssa Spirit, and who is someone who's just done a phenomenal job herself of being, of really branding herself in a very strong way, both as an angel investor, but also sort of a little bit more broadly as a really strong member of the ecosystem in general. And she couldn't make it. And she said, I have the exact person for you. And so here we are with Sapna. And so Sapna, I'd love for you to just do a quick introduction of yourself, and then we'll chat a little bit about your branding.
Sure. So It's nice to see everyone. My name is Sapna Shah. I've been an angel for just over 7 years. I have I focus as an angel on the future of retail, which includes kind of retail tech, marketplaces, consumer brands. And the reason I do that is because that's most of my career, basically since 1997, has been in the retail space. I worked at big companies like Gap and Ann Taylor and Linens and things. I've been an entrepreneur twice in the retail space. Once was an equity research boutique that my business partner and I founded, where we covered the public retailers for Wall Street, basically hedge funds and money managers. And then with the same business partner, we also launched a e-commerce startup. So really kind of have touched so many different sides to retail. Well before all of this, my first job out of college was investment banking. I did that for 3 years in healthcare and tech, which I never thought would be useful as an angel investor, but it turns out it's been immensely useful. So I used to slide over that part of my background, but now I don't. And so, like I said, so I've been an angel for about 7 years. And then about 3 years ago, I also launched what I'm now calling an ecosystem for early stage founders who are reinventing the future of retail. And that's called Retail X Series. It started as a event series with monthly events, it switched to virtual, obviously. We now also have a podcast, a Slack group. I run open office hours for that community. Post resources for them. And so it's really become kind of a big group. It's about 2,000 people in the community and about 450, I think, in the Slack group at this point. So that I would call that a little bit my side hustle right now.
Great. So we heard obviously retail focus. Can you tell us in your best words what your brand is as an angel? Obviously it includes retail, but anything else?
Yeah, so the other thing I focus on is investing in female and underrepresented founders. So 92% of my portfolio companies have either a woman or underrepresented founder. And I think it's like 80% of them is women founders. So I do focus on that. And what I've tried to brand myself as is sort of an angel who's really focused on the future of retail, who is also focused on underrepresented founders. And sort of that's the kind of the two-part story. So when people see me, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about this and where people find me, they're either finding me because they're a female underrepresented founder, or they're finding me because they're in the kind of the retail space. I'm based in New York, so I tend to be known more here than definitely not other places. So.
Great. And before we get to kind of some of the tools and the tactics and that sort of thing, was this an easy place for you to settle on from an angel investment standpoint? Probably very easy on the retail side, but was it very clear for you when you started to invest?
Yeah, that's a great question. The retail thing, I applaud people who are generalists and don't focus on a single industry. I think they're just smarter than me. Like I can only focus on the things I know. So that was a no-brainer. And then as I started seeing companies very early on, actually I joined an angel group very early on, and I realized that everybody presenting was men, and I was like, this is not right. And so very quickly, before I even really started making investments, I was like, I'm really going to focus on female founders. And then as I looked into that data, I also saw the data for underrepresented founders and was like, okay, this is kind of going to be my sweet spot.
Great. Excellent. So let's start first with your presentation to the world, so to speak. So everyone here checked out your LinkedIn. I think we had one comment on saying it's one of the most well organized and well communicated lineup of what you're about. So that's awesome. And so how is it that you have presented yourself, and then also if there's any progression? Was it organized? Did you start to get in? I heard you say you're part of an angel group. How did you sort of get yourself out there?
Yeah, I started with the angel group. I only lasted there for maybe about 2 years. So I'm now kind of on my own. But I use the angel group kind of as a launch pad, right? I also just to learn about being an angel because I didn't go through a program like this or any sort of other program. So it was helpful to learn and meet other angels and kind of see their process. But it was also a way to have deal flow come to me, right? I'm part of a group. I'm listed on their website. That was kind of when I decided, like, I really am so much more focused in industry sector than most of this group is. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to really make it very clear in my LinkedIn what I focus on. And so that started evolving from there. But then I also built my own website, which is redgiraffeadvisors.com. And I started with that thinking it would be really just a blog posting website. I was on WordPress. And so I was thinking it would be, I would write blogs. And, Kate, I heard you say that you really, you've been writing for 15 years. I hate to write. It turns out that I just
I love it.
don't enjoy it. Like, I don't enjoy the process of writing. So if you go check it out, you'll see that it's so sporadic. My blog posts are so sporadic. But then I realized I could use this site for more than that. It could be a place I could send people, listing my portfolio, my investment thesis, how you can contact me, all the resources. Because I was reading so much about angel investing and about founders and how they can look for angels and all of these sorts of things. And I thought, why don't I just post these all in one place? All the best content that I could find that it would be helpful to founders or angels or aspiring angels. And so, over time, that site really grew to be sort of like my face, right? And it continues to evolve, except for the writing, which is really very sporadic.
Great. And a quick question. You were hopping in right at the time when we were talking about people contacting you. And so was there a point at which did you feel like you had control over that? Did you invite it? Was it an amazing process? Did you get inundated? What was that like when you started to put yourself out there?
So I think one of the great things about at least saying up front how focused you are is you get less, not none, but maybe not as much of the spammy attack on LinkedIn. I've also put on my LinkedIn that I do not want to be contacted on LinkedIn, and I will not look at your pitch if you put it on LinkedIn. People still do, about 15 a day, but usually they're not in the space of retail anyway, because if they were actually paying that close attention to my profile, know what I invested in, they saw I have my email address on my profile saying, don't contact me here. Contact me at this email at redgiraffeadvisors.com. People don't read, but it's been overwhelming, but I don't feel like I have to pay attention to the LinkedIn ones because I've already told them what I'm going to do. So those are just delete every so often. But having it up there and having my email address on LinkedIn that is available for everyone does send a lot to me. And I've separated that one's an info at versus my name at. And so at least I can kind of keep those separate and go through them in bunches as opposed to kind of, getting inundated all the time and having it be a big distraction. So that's been a bit of a learning process, but that's kind of where I've ended up. And
okay,
it's fine. I don't mind having so much inbound.
Great. And just a couple questions on tools, and then I'd love to have our great class ask some questions. So do you use any particular tools, resources, organizational processes, anything like that, whether it's for deal sourcing or due diligence? What do you do as an angel?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I wish there were better tools that were free. So one of the things I think that is hardest as an angel is tracking all these companies. And, as a one person show versus like a VC with some junior person, like literally putting everything into an Airtable or something. I don't do a great job of that. I have Excel. I track everything on Excel, and just because I like Excel, not because it's necessarily the best way to track it. And I've been looking for sort of a better option that would not be so difficult. And so I've not done a great job of those sorts of tools. I think what I have done of maybe a better job with is communicating with through my website. So like I actually do have, outbound email that goes out when I post on the rare occasions when I post something new and those sorts of things, but not as much on the deal sourcing and tracking front, honestly.
I just
Okay.
noticed
And then
today-
last quick question.
Sorry, Kate.
What
I
was
just
that?
noticed-
Oh,
yeah,
no,
I just
no worries.
noticed
Yes.
today I was on Glassdoor completing a deal, and they've got a new tracking feature in there. I don't know. I didn't notice it like last month or month before. I don't know if anyone's tried that yet.
No.
Certainly haven't.
I mean, I
Haven't.
find Glassdoor Assure very glitchy. Like, for example, I went in today and like several of my investments weren't even showing up at all. But they have
Yep.
this new feature, so I haven't tried it yet. I was just wondering. Stop now.
Okay.
Have you seen that tracking tool in there yet? Yeah, I think it's new.
I have heard glitchy stuff with Assure. That's like a fairly common. Not. I haven't heard too many people that have like loved that. VC or angels.
Yeah.
So, awesome. Okay, so stop now. Last question too is, so you've got a blogish system going. You've got your own website, and you're certainly well organized on LinkedIn. Is there anything else when you're talking about a brand that fits into that structure of getting yourself out there? Doesn't necessarily have to be a tool either. Like, do you speak often? Anything like that?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things I do. So one is I'm actually a little bit less this year, to be honest, in 2020, but I've been very active on Twitter, talking about startups, talking about funding, and that, have built that audience. And I think that, that takes time, but I definitely have a more engaged audience now. And, I think I've honestly, 2020 is not my year to enjoy Twitter, but I think that's been really helpful. I speak all the time in the city. One of the things I do a lot of is, the coffee meetings with other angels, with VCs, with network partners. I mentor at so many of the incubators and accelerators. So I judge a lot of things. I speak on panels. I have my own Retail X series where I'm always speaking because I'm always the moderator or, talking on a topic. I've taught a financial modeling class multiple seasons in a row for that. So, I'm kind of like in the I think if you know about retail and you're in New York, you're probably going to ask me to speak. And Retail X has been a really good vehicle for getting my name out there. And then, launching a podcast. I launched a podcast in January of 2020. That has actually been surprisingly helpful. It was just good timing. I think people were looking for a lot of content in 2020 and being at home, and that content it's all been very like tactical advice for founders, where I interview a later stage founder who talks about like how they got their first B2B sale or how they do customer acquisition, and that's been really helpful on the branding front and kind of getting my name out there. I've been invited to speak at so many other podcasts because people heard my podcast.
Are you
Great.
You're doing both the video series and the podcast?
Yeah.
How much of your production is repackaging your video? Because I started a video series too, and I've been contemplating doing a podcast because like you, I started writing a book and these guys know about it, but I really don't enjoy writing either. I have a weekly newsletter and I try to keep that thing as brief as possible so I don't have to write.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you're like maximizing, your personal investment and optimizing.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm actually using different topics on the podcast versus in the video series. So in the webinars, you know, I get like 150 signups, maybe a third to a half of people show up. I record them, they go up on YouTube. So that content just exists. But the podcast content is a little different. I've made it very focused on topics that you probably wouldn't watch a whole hour of video series. So I just recorded one this morning, which was how to pitch an angel group, which is literally a 20-minute conversation. So they're much less detailed and they're on completely different topics that I didn't feel were appropriate for kind of an hour-long webinar. Another one that I'm working on is like how to build a fashion brand from scratch, which is, again, it's like a limited topic. You're not going to get as many attendees from the startup space, but I do see a lot of fashion brands. So I thought, you know, I'd probably get like 25 people who are interested in this. That seems more podcast oriented than, you know, hosting a big webinar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for Sapna on branding?
How much time, like you have all the, like the Twitter and the website and the podcast and the video stuff, like how is that not taking up 48 hours of a 24-hour day? Like, how are you finding time for all of this stuff? I really am curious about that.
Yeah. So all of this has evolved over time and I've gotten better at it, and some of it's becoming a little bit more rinse and repeat, and that's been helpful. But, you know, I mean, I don't have a full-time job, right? I'm either investing in companies or working with portfolio companies, or I'm doing all of these other things, right? And together, and let me just be clear, my husband works all the time. I have a kid in high school and a kid in college. Like, everybody's working all the time. So it doesn't feel like it's overwhelming. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a 40-hour work week, but it's not like 60 hours. Like, I wouldn't have started all of this at once, but I've kind of gotten used to how I manage it. And like the podcast is really 10 episodes every January, you know, that get released. Like, it's not all year round, right? I take at least August off in the summer from all of these activities, right? Just like, I just need a break. I don't want to run any more webinars. I don't want to post any more content. I'll just literally unplug. So, you know, it's not everything at all the time. And because it's evolved kind of slowly, I've been able to sort of manage. But yeah, like there are some days that are just like, I'm never going to get any of this done. So, you know.
Do you outsource any of it?
It probably...
My son does the podcast and the video editing. And I have an intern who, when we used to have live events, used to help me run registration and name tags and that sort of thing. But right now she promotes the webinar stuff on Instagram because she's way better at that than I am, because she's like 25 years old. And that's it, you know, so it's pretty, the rest of it's all me.
Yeah, one of the things that's probably helpful too, because I think people sometimes hear all of the things that I'm doing, but in reality, many of them overlap too. So one of the things I've found really helpful is like, okay, find the things that you're killing two birds with one stone, basically. And so it really, or the stuff I do over here for Women 2.0 is actually like fully benefiting our fund, you know, so it ends up not really being as much as it sounds when you verbalize it too.
Well,
which is interesting from a branding standpoint.
Well, and it's harder to launch something than it is to keep it going, right? So launching my first live event was, I mean, I didn't even know what I was doing. I'd never launched a live event before. So that was really stressful, and you know, I was panic stricken that no one would show. It was like I was like a, you know, like I was hosting a cocktail party, and what if nobody comes to my party? But you know, once we got the hang of it, it was just super easy, and like, again, rinse and repeat. And so it gets easier over time.
I have a question. I'm so intrigued by all of the content that you're putting out there. And I actually, when I saw on your LinkedIn Red Giraffe, I was like, that sounds so familiar. And then I realized that a couple of weeks ago, I saw you on the She Works, like
Yes.
Inside the Mind of Angel Investors. And I was like, I know I just heard this like a few weeks ago. So it's very funny how
I
like,
know.
things are.
Christy, it's funny. I was just going to say, I saw that Sapna was speaking on She Works. It was like 2 hours before the session. I was going to send it to you all, and I was like, there's no point. But that it would have been nice. I saw that one.
Yeah, it was perfect. I was driving home from Westchester, where I work, to the city where I live, and I just put it on Zoom in the car, and it was like listening to a podcast. So it was great. So I actually had no idea what you looked like. So I thought I was only listening. But I'm curious, like, it sounds like you invest a lot of time and energy in posting content and in, hosting live events outside of COVID. What kind of ROI do you see in terms of, at the end of the day, like your bottom line as an angel investor? Is it really worth, because it must just take so much of your time to keep doing that?
Yeah. And this is something I think about a lot. So I would say, for me, what ends up happening with all this content I post, I'm holding these open office hours 3 Tuesdays out of every month, the events, all of this stuff. I'm looking at it as a deal flow tool, right? It's a branding tool, but it's a deal flow tool. Like, these are generally incredibly early founders. So they're not ready to raise money when they come to kind of Retail X series. But at some point, some of them are going to make it, right? And they're going to be ready to raise money. And so the way I look at it is, it's all worth it if I can find that 1 or 2 gems to invest in, because they saw me first and I helped them in the early days, whether it was because they listened to the podcast, or they came to an event, or they came to my office hours. It's actually right before COVID. I was actually on the verge of investing in my first company that came through office hours, who had heard about my office hours, showed up, signed up, showed up, and loved the company. And then whatever, COVID happened, and everything's on hold. But, I think I'm starting to see that ROI, but it's a lot of time. But the other thing is, I'm incredibly cheap, so it's not a lot of money. And so I don't feel like I have to put a lot of cost against, because that's the other thing I weigh is what is all this going to cost me? Because that goes against any returns I might make, right? So I don't want to overspend. And so even the events are sponsored, and I don't pay anything for that, right? I pay literally $40 for the intern to be there each event. So it's I think about the ROI in both ways, monetary and time. And I think if I can find those great companies first and early, I'm in good shape, and it's totally worth it.
Thank you.
Do you do advisory stuff, and how do you charge for that?
Yeah, I don't anymore. I did become an advisor to a couple of companies because they weren't ready yet. And then I ended up investing in them when they were actually, got past friends and family round. And so I've continued to be on their advisory board, even though really I'm an investor as well. And then I became an advisor to 2 Black female founders who both had companies in sectors that I would not invest in, that I was not interested in, but they needed help managing the fundraising process. And I wanted to just be helpful. And I've done that strictly I use the FAST agreement, and it's the, whatever it is, the 0.2% equity vested over a couple of years. And I've just used that, and I haven't charged. I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think it's immense amount of time. And while it's super rewarding, my portfolio has gotten big enough that that's also now taking more time. And then I've added all these things as part of Retail X, which is also taking more time. So I don't know that I would go forward and do any more of that, but it's been great when I have, and I've done it for straight equity.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Are you?
Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah. Are you, in addition, kind of building on that question, are you monetizing any other aspects of your work? Like, okay, so like the events are free, everything.
The events are like $10 to show up. It turns out if you make them free, people don't show. And, you know, I'm also very like, people don't show up and they're like, can I get a refund? And like, I'm pretty kind about it. I'm more like, I just want to have the sponsor know that a lot of people are showing up. And then when I have some of that, I have used, the virtual events I've not been able to monetize, but I did start monetizing the live events, and that money has basically gone into, honestly, buying a podcasting microphone and a pop filter and all the things my son said I need to make the, a ring light and like, more equipment. So, it's not making me rich.
Sapna, I have a question, which is
Betty, I think.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Amber. I was looking at Betty trying to talk. We'll have her go after you.
Okay. Very quickly, I'd love to understand, you said for the last 7 years, you've been doing this pretty much full time. Could you give us some metrics around how many deals you've looked at, how many you've invested in, and how many you're ecstatic with?
Yeah, I actually just figured this out. So I think looked at is a very broad number. So I will say did more than just open the email is around 900-ish in the last couple of years. Met with either through open office hours or because I actually wanted to meet with them, something like 250 to 300 each year. And then I've invested really in one or two every year. So I've got about 16, 17 companies in my portfolio now. And, I write a little bit of a bigger check. I write a 50K first check in the pre-seed round. And I do follow on. So I followed on in like 3 deals this year. I don't follow on everything, but I'm finding that about 2 new is about what I can handle each year.
Thank you.
My question was kind of added on to your comment about you're not really making a lot of money off of the marketing pieces, right? The podcasts, the events, etc. But at the end of the day, it's kind of your cost of doing business to be part of the industry, to get the branding that you need, to get the deal flow that comes in, right? Like as a byproduct of what you're doing, you get the flow in, you look at it, at your kind of pace. No pitches on LinkedIn. I love that. That's a great rule. I think that's critical, but right. It's your investment in the kind of the greater portfolio return.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I don't want to make money off that. I think I find it, really irritating when I find founders who are like, I've been asked to pay $500 to pitch at this pitch competition. I'm like, don't do it.
Exactly.
So I don't want to charge founders more than for showing up. And honestly, in my events, I charge them so little. And we have wine and food, right? Because they're hosted by law firms who have like these spreads that are unbelievable. And so, I don't feel so bad charging for that because you're getting something to eat and you're getting like a beer or a glass of wine or as many glasses of wine as you want, really. So, the rest, it's really just an investment in finding like the best companies and being able to invest in them early and hopefully, building the return profile over time.
I just realized I'm muted. I want to ask a follow-on to like Amber's question that you had asked 2 questions ago, or you answered 2 questions ago about what your portfolio looks like now and the number of deals, that you're investing in every year and like average check size. So since you've been doing this for 7-ish years, when did you start to see a change from, and maybe you haven't yet because it's been 7 years, from just investing into these companies to starting to see cash flow from your investments? That's something like I'm really at the beginning of this, and I'm like, how long does it really take people typically? Is it like typically a 10-year return? Is it less? Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, when I started, people were saying that the average holding period is 7 years. I was like, great, 7 years, I'll be done. 2020, I'm gonna have exits, all kinds of exits, right? I think they're now saying the average holding period is 9 years. I've had two acqui-hires of two of my portfolio companies. Knock on wood, none of them has gone under yet. So the rest are kind of still in play. Um, I haven't had like a big return exit. The acquihires, one of them was for cash, but it was for less than I invested. So got something back, which is great. But they were sort of in trouble and sort of needed a way out. And the other one was bought by another startup, and so now I've shares in that company, and we'll see how they do. Seems like they're doing well. Like fingers crossed. Um, but yeah, I haven't I haven't gotten to that exit point yet, and it's really interesting. I met a lot of angels who started around the same time as me, and most of them are in the same boat.
Yeah, I started around 20 years ago, and my average is 9 to 10 years.
Yeah.
It's funny from the VC. Yeah, from the VC perspective too, because most, you have these 10-year funds set up, but if you talk to a lot of firms, because of exactly what we're talking about, they get to year 8 or 9 and they're just trying to figure out, like, shoot, what are we going to do? We got to do something with these companies that we have left, because it probably really is going to take a longer amount of time. And, a whole bunch of stuff you can do there from a management perspective, some of them good, some of them not so good. But it's always kind of wondering, you can extend funds and all that stuff, but it's always been interesting to me. Everyone they just peg the year. It'll be 7 years. We'll start seeing some stuff, and no one's changed the number, when really it probably should start changing a little bit.
I mean, the one thing, my husband and I we sort of decided to do this together. When I started angel investing, we actually invested in a tech fund to kind of get a little bit of diversity in the portfolio right away. And I will say that fund has had a few exits, and that's been because they were a little further along, a little later stage companies, closer to exit when they were investing in them. So, I think that's one way to see some exits earlier, is to, like, while you're making your own direct investments, invest in some slightly later stage funds. And so that holding period will be shorter, and it feels a little more exciting when you get an exit in something, at least.
I want to add something. I've been investing since 2012, actually. So, 8 years. And in the beginning, companies that I invested in, I've had 3 exits. And the companies that I have invested in after, 2015, 2016, the period has now grown to longer period. Except the one that I told you about 3 weeks ago, that was a 2-year-old company, and they got acquired. So even though 7 years seems like an average time frame, I also think that it matters on how many companies you invest in, and how frequently, and the type of industry. So the certain type of industry, you have, relatively speaking, a shorter exit than the other industry. So, for example, SaaS is one of them that is it's an established revenue model. So the average time frame is around 7 years, 5 to 7 years. But if you go into direct to consumer or food, a CPG brand, that are obviously much, much longer. And when you invest in the later stage fund, right, even though you may get exit, since you're owning, depending obviously again, the amount of investment that you are doing, your multiples are not that large. So it's a balance in a lot of things that Sapna and others talked about. So there is not a one formula as it was before. It varies in few criteria. just my 2 cents.
Yeah, agreed.
Any other questions for Sapna while we have her?
Do you mind if we
All
reach out?
right.
Would
Feel
you
free.
mind if we reached out over email or something like that?
Definitely feel free to reach out on email. My email is sapna@redgiraffeadvisors.com.
Thank you.
Super easy. But yeah, be happy to, if anybody has any other questions, be happy to chat with you.
Great.
Thank
Sapna,
you.
thank you so much
Thank
for coming.
you.
We really appreciate you, number one, stepping in, and then also, oh, we might have just lost her, but
Oh, I'm still here.
that's okay.
Oh, she's
Oh, you
here.
are? Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
You were somehow removed from the screen. No,
Thank
I
you,
was just
Sapna.
finishing up by thanking you for number one, stepping in for Alicia, and then two, for spending this time with us. I think this is really helpful, and your experience is definitely an excellent one to think about while we're working through branding and all of that good stuff. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it, and it was great to meet all of you, and have a very happy holiday.
Thank you, Sapna. You too.
Have a happy holiday.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. I almost want to sing.
All right.
I think I was gonna say I almost want to sing that have a happy I mean I'm
Well,
so
the
glad you put it down.
dental height will be smaller than the giant eucalyptus trees there. But
Ooh,
the
what's that?
pine trees, they can be in the 30-foot range. You know, they can maybe get a little bigger than
Talking
that.
about giant eucalyptus.
It's a good sized tree and kind of an
Trees.
equal diameter. They're
I don't know
quite
where that's
wide.
coming
They
from,
have
but
nice square
I have
canopy.
no idea where that's coming from.
okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that was me. I'm sorry. I'm sharing an office and I thought I was on mute.
Sorry, I love it. With eucalyptus trees, it's okay. That was
I love
fantastic.
eucalyptus trees. Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, listen, everybody, that sort of concludes today. We do have a few minutes, of course. Would love to take any more questions you have on this topic or any of the other topics. One thing I did pull from this session, in addition to possibly having a happy hour, we could combine these two in the new year, is it could be a good session or two to think about just doing a little bit of a session on branding. We can all come to the table. We can break up time and get some feedback and just talk through some of the things on our plates. So I'll throw that out to the group and whomever wants to be there. We're not going to do anything else in December. Don't worry. You save this until the new year.
Is there
But
office
does anybody
hours
have
tomorrow?
any general questions?
Yeah. Are you
Oh,
guys
that's a
doing
good question.
office hours?
Jags, do we have office hours tomorrow?
I think she's muted.
No, I'm
might
here.
be
Sorry,
muted.
I was muted. You're right. We can have office hours if you like. I mean, I wasn't. It is still, our last week, so we may, if you guys all want to come with questions and examples of theses or anything.
I have a general question to everyone. It seems that everyone wanted to do like branding or podcast or a newsletter or something. It's like just throwing out some ideas that if we can all cooperate together and we don't need to hire multiple interns or someone to edit, we just need to hire one person to edit. And we just rotate like different months or different week for different people and record it and submit it to a central person. So then we can have our own angel investor podcast channel or something. Just throwing out some ideas where maybe newsletter together.
Alice, that is very interesting because one of the things I was actually going to present to this group is that if we wanted to do something like that, whether it's a podcast, panel series, fireside chat series, whatever, we could do that and just sort of launch it through our Women 2.0 programming if you wanted to. And I'm not trying to retain ownership of that, but we also do happen to have a nice built-in audience for that. So mull on that. It's like you literally, that was in my brain because we can kind of do all of that. So I love it. I love it.
I love it too. Good plan, Alice. I think it's great.
Yeah, me too.
I've been wanting to do something like that, but I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the expertise. So it's hard to get geared up to do it on your own, you know? So it'd be great to do it with a group.
I
You have a good
agree.
voice, Katie, too. I think you would be really good, like, on a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
or video chat too, whatever. I'm
I
down
agree.
too.
I have a call set up. We should talk about this in advance because I have a call set up with this guy, Barry, who runs, I think it's like the second largest podcast network in the US after all these other ones have been acquired. And it was basically to pick his brain about, like, you know, what he sees, where the real opportunities, like formats, the whole thing. So if we really think about this before then, or at least if we think about the questions that I should ask him, then, you know, I can get mine as much data as I can from him and get his like feedback and report back and let you guys know what he says. Because yeah, I think that would be, because I've been thinking about it too. And God, it's just like one of the things that I thought it was great to have her, but I'm kind of sitting here now going like, oh my God, I'm putting all this money out into the world and I'm investing all of this time and I'm not making anything back and neither is she. And I was like,
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it sounded like he's investing so much time and like just so much time in that. And I just wonder if it's really worth it, you know? Like,
right,
is
because
she
she's not
really
making a return either? I mean, it doesn't sound like she's making returns on the investment. So if she's not making a return on the investment, then
Yeah,
definitely.
I like Kate's idea, or Kate's thought about figure out ways to dual track stuff, like make it work for you at a lot of different angles.
Yeah.
I think that's really good advice. Like, and you probably have to cut bait, right? If something's not really working, like if you're not getting followers on whatever, just don't do it. If you get, you know, focus on what is actually
what
working.
works.
But you got to be critical about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Remember one of the slides
big-
we had was it said it's okay to say no. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That's also something we should, you know, keep that in mind because our time, my daughter told me this a few years back, Mom, time is not a renewable resource. Money is. So spend your time wisely. So we really, yeah, I got smarter kids, more smarter than me. So it's okay to say no. I mean, you don't have to be everything and do everything for everybody. That's one thing I've learned in my life, a little bit later than I would have liked to, but.
I just want to share that for the podcast that like recently I got invited for a podcast and then I was just thinking, I mean, because I was a host before for like different events or doing other different events, I always needed to have like a question list, like kind of like Kate and Jack, like have a question list to ask the guest speaker and stuff. But nowadays that the podcast person, he was like, give me 5 topics and then the question that I'm going to ask you. I was like, what? But what is your work? You didn't need to research on me. You just found me on LinkedIn. You think I'm good. And then that's the podcast way. Very interesting. Yep.
And that can work if they're good at it. I have seen it scale miserably doing that. So yes. Content, I will tell you, if anyone does want to chat content, that is my old world, is content marketing, and all this stuff. And it's still like fun to do. It's fun to talk about for me. I'll say that much. But like, this is all, I think part of it too that we're talking about is this idea of like, okay, we can probably be better together as opposed to everyone going off and trying to build your own thing right now. So for whatever that's worth. And Angel, I wasn't going to call you out that you misspelled your own name. I figured I'd just post the right thing. I was like, she definitely left out the A, but whatever.
I thought it was purposely done, Angel.
And that was the second time. I did it the first time, I screwed it up. The second time, I still screwed it up. Clearly not on the content marketing tip.
Well, this has been a pleasure. I'm so excited to continue our journey together.
Thank you so much.
So grateful for this. This was just what I needed to light a fire.
I totally agree. Ditto to that. It's been amazing. I'm so impressed with everybody.
That's awesome. And thank you everybody too. You know, speaking of imposter syndrome, Jags and I probably sit on the other side, you know, thinking about this being, just as Sapna was saying, you know, the first event you do is the hardest. And so we know there were some hiccups this time around, and hopefully everybody got value out of this. I do think also moving forward, like I had alluded to a couple of classes ago, is you're our first cohort, and we will value that very much moving forward. So we will not ever forget you as our first cohort. Let's just put it that way. So I hope everybody has connected outside of this as well. There are a couple LinkedIn there too, but everyone has their email, and then now hopefully on this channel. And then as we grow this community, it feels like it could be really neat for everybody. And then the last thing I'd also say is be in touch with me. I know a couple of everybody's focus areas in terms of angel investing, but like I literally have a database of 500 actively raising companies right now that I can just pull for you. So hit me up. Because I got a lot of them and they all want money and I can't give them all the money they need. So, and in true seriousness, like Christy, I've actually got one that we're looking at for next quarter that you'd be interested in. I'd love for you to take a look at it. And
me or Kirsty?
Plenty of other. You, Christy Houlihan.
Cool. Thank you.
Hey, has anyone used like Crunchbase and these other platforms for pulling data through like an API or something into anything more kind of robust than just like Google Sheets or something? Because I'm just wondering, like you said that you have this like 500 companies, like have they come to you through your networks, or are you actually like using some tools?
No, they've come through they've come through our program. So we have pitch sessions every week. We just had a pitch competition run. And so they fill out applications with us. They're pitch, again, like some of them pitch every week. So we have all their data. We have their decks, we have their traction stats, we have terms of the deal, we have like all the stuff. So, and that's through a variety of different networks, but yeah, that's all Women 2.0 stuff that we've pulled.
Okay. What was that tool that Jag said she was going to share with us? Did she do that and I missed it? For managing deals?
She did.
Affinity?
No, so we're gonna have a demo set up in early Jan after the holidays.
Okay.
That's when they said we could all get together. I just personally could not do it in the last 2 weeks of December.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it.
Oh, no.
No. So this is the beginning. I feel this is, even though it's an end of our focus time together, but this is the beginning of, relationships and deal sharing and questions and answers and, helping each other through this journey. So I'm really excited to be with you all and continuously learning and continuously investing.
Kirsty, that looks so fun. Can we all take a spin?
This is like the only way I can like stay on until 6.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
What is Kirsty doing?
Awesome.
I didn't see that.
It's not working.
She's got her little ones. Both of them sit. We don't look. Oh, a little one and a doll. Spinning.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've been giving the doll a bath and everything here in the last hour.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why I don't have my
Angel
video on all the
Angel
time.
investor in the making,
A lot
for
happens in the
sure.
background.
Love it.
Love it. Okay, awesome, everybody. I'm also excited if we set up a session or two in January as well on a couple of these items. So thank you again. This is fantastic. Everybody have an amazing end of the year. If you're celebrating holidays, great, do that. I think everybody's ready for 2020 to progress into 2021, whatever. I like don't want to jinx anything, so I'm sitting here, I'm like, how about we just switch it up a little bit? Like, so hopefully everybody has a good end of their year. And here's to 2021. I think everybody here is just in an amazing spot to be doing some really neat things in 2021. So really cool.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thank you.
Night.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.
Stay safe.